Hi, this is George Sandman. I'm the founder and CEO of Growth Drive. Growth Drive is the #1 best-selling business advising platform, and this is our podcast, The Business Advisor Hot Seat. Now, in the hot seat, you're going to hear from industry leaders, thought leaders, your colleagues who are going to share tips, techniques, war stories about building a thriving advisory business based on delivering client wins. We're going to get into it. We'll get into it about the Growth Drive methodology, the Clarity software, what we see out in the world, so much more than just the system. And I'm also the author of the Growth Driving Advisor, which is based on over a decade of being an advisor to advisor, working with you and your colleagues, helping them build their practices, helping them through client engagements. And it's really proven strategies for leading businesses from stuck to best in class. Check it out. So strap in. We're going to light this up. Here we go. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. And this week we are incredibly fortunate to have Addie Klevit with us. Addie is a business process engineer. Yes, a full-on engineer. She owns the Business Success Consulting Group. And Addie, you and I met at a conference, and let's bookmark that. We met we both presented at this conference down in Phoenix. But before we do that, Addie, welcome. Thank you very much. I'd love to give you a chance to introduce yourself, do better than I just did, and tell the world why your clients hire you.
Thank you, George. I'm so excited to be on this podcast. Yes, we met at that conference, at the 40 Strategy Conference, put by Carl Cox. So, hello,
Carl. Yep.
And and we just I was definitely, we hit it off because we have a lot of commonality, how we help clients. I mean, it's a holistic approach to helping the clients from different directions. So what we do is we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures for companies. And
heck yes,
what we do.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and one of the things you said, and we'll give a shout out, Carl Cox. He is a growth driver. He's a member of this community. And in fact, we're recording a podcast together next week. So stay tuned. But Adi, one of the things, what a fantastic conference they put on. He and his team, 40 Strategy, they put on his book, Lost at CEO. It's part of our certification package that we send out. And Carl and his team put on a terrific session. And you and I were both invited to come speak. One of the things I loved, absolutely, you saw me in the back of the room getting excited. Process engineering sounds pretty, it doesn't sound that exciting, right? But the way you approach it, the way you describe it, the way your fundamental philosophy is so synced up with the way we view the world, because you started talking about process as liberating, process as getting out of chaos. And, I couldn't agree with you more. Let's talk about that. And let's talk about process and the incredibly beneficial impact that architecting processes can have on the culture of a business. So you pick a question out of there, put a question mark at the end of any of those statements, and I'd love your comments.
All right. So first of all, let's talk about the freedom part. That is very important.
Yeah.
And I didn't make it up. And I know a lot of, you can talk about different aspects of the business that if you improve upon it, it gives you freedom. But it's a survey that actually we conducted and asked many entrepreneurs is, what do you like most about being an entrepreneur? And the question was the freedom. But then what is the challenge that you encounter is that I can't really realize that freedom. I don't have that freedom. So how do you achieve that freedom? One of the ways of achieving it is by having well-documented processes and procedures that are followed by all, because then you can extract yourself out of the business.
Yeah.
And I think when you have that as a why or as a goal, this is not the why, but this is the goal. The why behind it is that you want to scale the business. You want to make sure the business that just doesn't depend on you. You want to make sure there is growth. So if you do not tell others how things, like the things that you know how to do, how they're being done, you will never be able to delegate. That's the simplicity of it.
Yes.
Or if you hire people that hopefully you delegate, you hire people, but they maintain that knowledge. I just got off a call with a friend of mine, she's an entrepreneur, and she wanted me to talk to her staff about documentation. And one of the things we found out is that she has somebody that has been on her team for 12 years, which is amazing because it says a lot. It's consistency. It's definitely, people obviously are happy if they have such retention, but with 12 years of experience, you also accumulate all that knowledge to yourself.
Yes.
Not because you just don't want to share it. It's just that's part of it if you don't have it documented. So people come to that person and ask all these questions. How do I do that? And how do I do that? So that is the opposite of empowering, because you then keep all the power to yourself and you're not really sharing it, although you answer the questions, but then it repeats itself over and over. So creating that documentation really empowers everyone on the team to understand and be able to do what they're supposed to be doing, and also move forward and scale.
Yeah, 100%. Heck yes, because we need to take personal knowledge and turn it into institutional knowledge.
That's right.
And I talk every now and again, but I talk about the fact that one of the most sophisticated pieces of machinery on the planet, a nuclear submarine, right, a boomer, or an attack sub, it doesn't matter, but a submarine out in the fleet is run largely on checklists, right? That is process, 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 process. There's nothing that happens on a boat that is not process driven, and that process is incredible power, right? When we
It is.
talk, yeah, when we talk in the growth drive community, we talk about these three statistics. 62% of business owners want to grow, 21% want to make their business easier to run, and 17% are preparing to sell. That informs the three dimensions of growth. If anyone listening doesn't appreciate that process is what makes each of those come true, you want to make your business easier to run? Have written processes that people can follow, that people, and I want to turn, and I'll stop and ask you a question. So when we write down a process, what have you seen as the impact on job performance and job satisfaction?
Tremendous, tremendous. I'll give you an example. We were working with a real estate company, and we were documenting their processes and procedures.
Yeah.
And then we did a follow by all workshop. We roll it out, we make sure that everybody follows it. And at the end of it, one of the employees came to me and he said, I so appreciate this place because I just got, he was just a newer employee and he moved from another brokerage to this one. And he felt a lot of insecurity in the work because he didn't know if he's doing a good job or not doing a good job, or what is going to happen. And then he goes, now I know exactly what is expected of me. So I know that if I'm going to do A, B, and C, I'm going to get the rewards. This is what's going to happen, this is what's expected of me. There is no mystery. It took the mystery out. So it's very much, I know what I'm going to do. I know what I need to do, and I know how to accomplish that. And that is important.
That is
And
incredibly.
George,
Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. One of the things we talked about is the culture too. So can you systematize a culture? I know some people go, oh, I don't want to systematize because a culture is something flowy, something that is fluid, but it's not, because I mean, it is, but you have to make sure that you are systematizing it, because the worst thing is they go, okay, well, today we are going to create this culture where we are going to get your feedback whenever you want to give us feedback. Good, but there is no system to give feedback. It will go away. And
Yeah.
then you don't have that consistency, and what you're promising one day is not going to be there the next day. If you actually systematize that culture according to what you feel it should be, then people are going to remember to do that. Even in times, when everything is calm and everything is fine, it's not a problem. But when you have pressure, when you increase the number of leads and there is a lot of demand for your services and there is more and more and more pressure, then you forget about those things. But if you have a system, you don't, because it's part of what you do. You can replicate your success.
Man, there are so many comments. Addy, yes, this is why I was standing in the back of the room, literally.
I know you were
I was
like, yes, yes,
hopping from foot to foot,
you're a
like, oh my
leader.
gosh, yes, because culture. There are 2 points you just made that I'd like to underscore. One, I talk in my book about the dignity, having a job that affords you dignity, and dignity is not a pat on the back. Dignity is knowing that you've done a good job at the end of the day, knowing that you're getting paid what the market will bear, right? That you're appreciated financially, and but very importantly that you've done, at the end of the day, you've done a good job. And that is what that person was sharing with you. They're like, they know what it means to do a good job, and nobody has to tell them. They're not
Right.
waiting for an attaboy. They can measure themselves and improve their performance. And we are all competitive. I love that. And
Yeah,
and
because
the,
one of my good friends, I actually interviewed her for the podcast. She has a recruiting company. She said, and it's right. I mean, it is based on research as well. You know, people don't leave their jobs. The reason why they leave their jobs is not necessarily because of money. Money will be a reason, the lowest reason, because it is the job satisfaction and the acknowledgement and feeling that you're important. And
yes.
if you do not know, if nobody tells you, or it's not being provided to the employees of what exactly is needed from them, and it's kept being changed, then it's hard to feel acknowledged because you don't know what you're going to get acknowledged for.
Yeah, and if there isn't a process, what happens in humans can be, they've been known to be petty and small, but if you don't have written processes, procedures, and policies, and let's get to policies as a process in a sec. But if you don't have those, so let's take someone who, because of the way their life works, now imagine they know what they need to do in a day and what a successful day looks like. I'll keep it simple. And imagine that for some reason they need to come in at 5 a.m. and leave at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They should be able to do their job, in that time period, and it should be acceptable logically for most functions. That should be acceptable to the organization. Now, there's a lot implied there with written processes, procedures, policies, with defining success so that the employee knows what success means. We can give them that latitude so that the job is serving their life. And I'll just stop there because if not, I won't shut up for the next 3 hours.
No, I think it's
But
great because we go back. I mean, that point is so important because it goes back to the freedom. If you want to achieve freedom, first of all, freedom for what? Let's say you want to achieve freedom so you can create a new business. You
yes,
want to achieve freedom so you can spend time with your family. It's very important to define that so you have a goal. But if you want to achieve freedom, how do you do that? You systematize those things that are repeatable, that you do not have to spend, then you don't have to spend time on reinventing the wheel every single time, or you can also really delegate it because somebody else can do it then.
yeah,
So, for instance, we all have a process whether we want it or not when we wake up in the morning. The majority of us are going to do the same thing, that you're going to make your coffee the same way. You're not going to do it differently. You're not going to do it maybe a little bit here and there. You're going to add something more, but you're going to have the same process. Why? Because if you do that, you also have the prediction of how long it will take you to get ready. You can do the step by step. You start a coffee, you until you drink it, you sit down, maybe you look at the news or you look at a YouTube video, whatever you do, you drink your coffee, you're done, you're ready to get started for the day. You have a predictability of how long it will take, and you don't have to think about it. Then you have time to create. Maybe you're thinking about the article you're going to write, or you're going to think about what is going to happen today. That's the freedom to create right there, because the other parts are processes and systems.
yes,
So the same thing is if you have a process, let's say onboarding a new client. If you do not have a process for onboarding a new client, it will be a mess every single time. It will
every
be
time.
confusion. But if you do have it, then you will follow and your staff will follow. Then you also have the predictability that when you sell to a new client, that client is going to be onboarded beautifully and they're going to benefit from everything
I
that
love
you
it.
have at the end of that onboarding process. And you then do not have to spend needless hours fixing it or talking to an upset client. It's just smooth. And at the end, the client probably, because of the experience, will also refer their friends. So you actually made more money and more clients because you had a good process.
That's exactly what. Get set expectations and then meet them. Yeah, heck yes. Eddie, something you said a couple of minutes ago, and that you also said down at the 40 strategy growth workshop, policies, right? So establishing, and ladies and gentlemen, think of policies also as processes, so that when somebody, you told the story of the person who had all the institutional knowledge in their head, they hadn't democratized it. If we have policies for problem resolution, for example, if this is a problem, then here are the guardrails. Can you talk about the guardrails for making decisions and taking care of it without having to wait for someone else to tell you what to do? Can you talk
Yeah,
about
so
that
that
for a
that's
sec?
so important. It's so important, George. Thank you for bringing it up. I mean, you gotta have policies, and as a business owner, you have to set those policies so then you can empower others to make a decision. I mean, what are examples of policies like giving discounts? That's a policy. So we have like, right? I mean, like let's say
Yep.
you go, okay, well, on this range you can get this much discount, on this one, if they buy two or three services at once, you get this one much discount, so you don't have to run to your manager or you don't have to run to the business owner to ask the question. That's an example. Another policy is like in hiring. So let's say you do testing of new employees, there should be a policy of what is the minimum score that is acceptable, minimum amount of experience, and or set those things that are policy of that are best practices as well. Like,
Sure.
we in sales, okay, so a policy will be also like what is the minimum acceptable number of calls that you make in a day in order to actually meet your quota. That's very important. Those are different examples of policies that have to be met. And of course you have the policies of HR policies of time
Sure.
off
Sure.
and salary, like pay, when do you get paid, etc. But I'm talking about policies also in day-to-day operations, not just in HR.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love it. Processes and then policies that guide decision making. Um, I know you. I know. I'm really curious. I've never asked you this question before, and I haven't heard you discuss it. But the relationship between a company's vision and their policies.
Oh,
Um,
it's a big. That's where culture also ties
yes,
into processes and procedures. The way that I look at it in policies is the way that you execute the vision. This is the tool for execution. You can have a great vision. Okay, so let's say, for instance, we're going to take an unrelated subject. So let's say I have a vision of an amazing trip to Europe. This is what we're going to do, and we're going to go here and we're going to go there, and we're going to explore, and we're going to have a great time as a family. Great. But from my experience, if I don't then try to execute it by actually having a process of how it's going to be done, then you get into nothing happens.
that's right.
So the process is, okay, well, we're going to fly to this place, then we're going to go here, we're going to have an Airbnb, this day we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But on this and those and this, I don't have a complete plan for Saturday and Sunday. We're going to discuss when we are there, but that's part of the process. It's okay, but you are already planned ahead for it. And in my opinion, it doesn't take this, it doesn't make it not being spontaneous or not being or not flow. It's not like you have to then organize and plan every minute of your life. That's not the plan here. But you plan those things that if you leave them to chance, it's not good. Like, for instance, I'm doing a retreat for all my team members, and we waited a little bit too late, and now they don't have rooms in the hotel. That was a violation of our own process. That's not fun, because now I have to spend time finding another hotel.
Very
And it's
inefficient. Yeah,
inconvenient because now some of us will stay in one hotel and some of us will have to travel. So that, if we had a process of like, okay, start on time to research that and do it and book it, that's part of the process. It just saves time. Leave time to the unprocessed stuff or unplanned stuff or the things that you really need to. So that's where the differentiation is. So going back to the vision, you have your vision, how you're going to execute it. If your vision is, for instance, that selling the business, you are going to sell the business in 3 years and for this much profit, and the employees are going to be very happy, you're going to be very happy, and it's a great transaction. That's your vision, right? Part of your vision, what you're going for. Good. Well, what's the process? It's like preparing the business for valuation has to be a process, right?
heck yes.
Hiring the right consultant to help you with that is a process. Creating a strategy in place, it's a process. Writing your processes is a process. You have to have the processes in place to execute the vision. And I think I said it also in the conference, but it's also the core values, and your voice, your
Yes.
brand voice have to be part of your processes. So if you have a core value, for instance, that you are going to take care of your customers, most amazing customer service ever, like that's what you want to accomplish. Well, then you better have processes and policies on how to accomplish that. Because
Yes.
if you don't, and people will invent their own policies and procedures, then it might not get to the execution of your core values.
Yeah, and even very small companies benefit
Mhm.
from this type of thinking, and then the discipline of writing this down. You know, maybe we should take a couple of minutes, Addie, and let's talk about this in the context of you brought up selling a business, an M&A transaction, and I would invite anyone listening, if you imagine two companies going to the deal table. Both companies have gross revenues of 2 million they have gross revenues of 20 million. They have net income of 2 million. One business shows up, and private equity is trying to decide between the two. And in due diligence, we discovered that company one has written processes and procedures and policies for that really guide the business very, very solidly, that bring predictability to how they do what they do and why their clients are so happy. The other is hitting the same numbers, the same profitability, but has very, very few written. They have a great team, good people. They have very few written policies and procedures and policies, SLAs, definitions of what it means to be successful. Which business do you think private equity is going to put their money in? And this is why we talk about process as a contributor to the transferable value of a business, and why again I was so excited to hear you. And it's easy when we think about process engineering. What I loved about your what I hear you saying today, what I heard you saying at the conference, is that you understand how this informs culture. Ultimately, culture is the thing, right? Brand is the outward manifestation of
Yeah.
culture, and
And George, if you're selling the business, if somebody's selling the business and the legacy is very important to them because they go, oh, wow, I work in this business for so many years and I created this amazing culture and I want to maintain it. The way to maintain it is to document it in policy.
yes,
That's what it is. Because if you actually have it documented in policy, then it becomes written. It's not just a tribal knowledge. It's not, it's something that is documented. And then you make sure that everybody is following it. So if somebody's trying to change it, you have something in writing that they can refer back to of, no, this is the way we do things here. And this is the way it is.
and that is, and you cannot create the Acme way by osmosis. You're right, tribal. That's a great term, tribal knowledge. We need to turn that into institutional knowledge, and that is a matter of thinking, writing, and frankly, shameful promotion for you, but a shameless promotion for you. Hiring someone like you to come in and sit down and have these conversations, and have these conversations. What I love about what you bring to the table, and is that you bring it in the context, in a holistic context, right? It's not process for process's sake. Uh, um, the process, it's process to grow the business and increase and improve the experience of the people working there. You talked a bit about. I'd love to hear some comments on uh, chaos. You
Yeah.
talked about chaos, and I'd love to hear. I'd love you to share that with everyone listening in.
Chaos, what is the source of chaos in a business is when people don't know what they're doing, when there is no consistency, right? It's like if I do it one way and you do it another way and then a third person does it another way, it we then will spend time arguing or justifying why our way is the best or trying to figure out what was done. Let's say you go on vacation and I take over, but I do it another way, and I go like, "What did George do? Where is that? Like, what is going on?" I mean, that is chaotic. That is
Yes.
chaotic. Is basically not having organized, not having order. That's the opposite of chaos. When you look at processes in place, that is like organized step by step, and then you know what you need to do with that.
Yeah, absolutely, Adi. And have you seen, when you're working with clients, and feel free to share stories, things like job satisfaction, employee retention, revenue growth, how the work you do with how the work you do impacts any or all of those.
Oh, 100%. I can give you an example, many examples. Like one client, we documented their processes and procedures for the company. He was able to actually step out of the company, bring a general manager. And then
Nice.
because he did that, the value of his company increased to basically he got double the price that he was asking for because it was very obvious that the company can operate by itself. Another company got a really good deal from a private equity firm because they could see everything that is going on in the company. It wasn't a mystery anymore. Another company that was able to open another location. They had 5 locations, and then they opened another one, and then opened another one because they were able to, and very fast. The new location became profitable very fast because they were able to replicate the success of the other locations.
Yes. Yes. And you do need good people, but you really need good processes also. Give good people good processes and
It's
step
a
back
winning
and watch.
combination.
A hundred
Yeah.
percent. 100%. What does it look like? So you come in as a process engineer. What does working with you look like? Where do you start?
So we start by really understanding the why processes are important. Because if we don't change that mindset, it will be, oh yeah, like what you mentioned, it's yeah, we're gonna write processes, but that's boring and I don't want to do it. And why am I gonna take time from production? Look, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes an investment. It's not just something that you will do. It's not a motivational talk that makes you feel like you walk out of there and you go, oh, I feel much better, right? I mean, you will feel better, don't get me wrong, but it takes work. So I need to be convinced that the person that we're going to be working with, our clients, really have a why behind it. Not just because they heard it from somebody, but because they know that if they're going to put all this effort, they're going to get a return on investment.
Yes.
So that's what we do. We talk about the why, whether it's consistency, onboarding, training, wanting to exit. And we also talk about the return on investment. We talk about what would it look like really if you had processes and procedures in place. I just asked that question to, and I asked a new client that question, and they told me, wow, if we do that, then each one of our um, agents will be able to work at capacity, and they're going to spend 80% of their time on revenue producing
Ah,
actions. Wow, we can really get something done here. So that is the kind of realization, so the type of understanding or answers that I'm looking when I'm asking why and what will happen, because then we can establish, yes, there is a change and we're going for the change. Then we will figure out what area we're going to start with, and that's the area that it's either going to give us the biggest return on investment, the biggest change, or sometimes that's the area that is the easiest to move the needle, right? The needle will move faster on this one, and it will be an example for others to follow, because maybe there is resistance to change, to writing, but if we do it that way,
no.
yeah, it's for early adapters, right? So we can go there. Either way, we're going to find a place to start. Then we're going to map the process as high level. And that's always eye opening. Wow, now I can see my organization from beginning to end. Then we go to the next level, which we go into more detail, like which procedures are we going to document. And then we start extracting the information, doing the knowledge transfer, figuring out also why do you do certain things? What are best practices? What frustrates you about this procedure? What is always working? What is always not working? If you had a magic wand, how would you change this? What are the different milestones in order to accomplish what we are trying to accomplish on this procedure?
Yes.
And also, how do we measure the success that this procedure has been followed? What is it? Is it maybe right now there are errors and the errors will go to zero? Great measurement. Maybe it is that it takes right now 4 weeks for somebody to get up to speed when you're training them. Maybe we will get it down to 1 or 2 days. Whatever it is, we want to have those measurables so we know where we are going.
Yeah. You see me shaking my head. Yes. Heck yes.
But
Absolutely
then
right.
when we have that done, so what we do, we take all that information and we create checklists and forms and videos, and it's a done it for you. So we create it for you. So you have that. We also optimize at the same time. But the most important thing is that if I don't want to have a commitment for that, we're not going to start a project. The most important thing is the application and the implementation of those processes.
Wait,
of the
stop. You
process.
said that if you don't have a commitment to implement, you won't work with the client.
No, because then what happens is
Love it.
like we write these beautiful processes, and then what? I mean, then it's kind of like,
Love
oh
it.
yeah, we hired Adia and her team, and we got these processes, but nobody's using it. That is not. And I tell my clients, you know what? It's better for us to document less and implement it than to document more and not implement it, because it's not going to work otherwise. And they
Love
understand
that.
that. I mean, they are smart. They understand that, and so that's what we work on.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And it's so true. So someone who's not willing to change might be willing to write you a check to do a lot of discovery, but if they're not going to, or even to write a plan, but if they're not going to execute it, they're not going to get an ROI. And ultimately they're probably not going to be a satisfied customer, even if they like you and they think you did
Correct.
good work. I thoroughly agree.
And
And
it's
it's the
not
same
about
in our.
liking. Liking is great. I like people to like us, but it's about effectiveness, and it's about seeing results.
Yes. Liking. Yes, I totally agree. It's a nice to have, not a must have.
That's
And
right.
yeah, I absolutely agree. Man, man, man alive, Eddie. Okay. So what haven't I asked you? I mean, I know that you and I could talk for the rest of the day, but is there anything that's been on your desk recently, on your mind recently that
I think that the concept, and we touched upon it, but I want to emphasize it again. It's not about stifling creativity. It's not about
yes,
making everything very robotic. It's not about creating this culture that is not yours. It's really about adding to your culture, and it's about making it better, bigger, better, and more of it. And I think one more item, and it's on my mind because I just published an article. It got published yesterday on Forbes about AI and processes, and that is a little bit of a misconception in terms of, oh yeah, AI can replace you guys. Well, it really can't, because we
no, it can't.
need to have processes in place in order to implement AI. And I'm all about implementing AI. I mean, we are very much an AI driven organization. We are always trying to stay ahead using all the wonderful tools that exist out there. For instance, you can use now creating videos. It's so easy because we can create transcript, and then we use AI tool to create a video to explain, and then people can hear, they can read. I mean, it's great. I mean, I love all the AI tools, but AI would not be able to replace you, the business owner, in terms of figuring out what the processes are. It
That's right.
can speed up in terms of documentation, but it can definitely, you need to have those documented in order to be able to work on it.
100%. And let's talk about that. This is a great, super timely topic. So, Addie, everybody's all a buzz about AI, and that's great. My perspective is, and feel free to, this is a debatable point, is that
Yeah,
AI is going to allow us. There are certain processes that can be automated using AI, and that frees people up to do not to do more work, but to do work that might be more valuable, right?
that's exactly
Changing
right.
columns in doing data analytics, that is not the highest and best use of a person's brain. So can you comment on that?
I agree with you 100%, but you have to understand the process. You have to have the process documented to understand where to integrate AI
Where
and
will
where
we integrate?
not. And also, you need to be able to know your process, because if something happens, you need to know what it is. Like, this week, um, AI was down. I mean, all of them. ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity. I got this, and my staff too. We were on a staff meeting, and we were trying to do something, and I go, "Oh, we get this message," and I go like, "Now we're all gonna have to start writing, so we better know how to write." Can you imagine? It was like this eventuality of like, okay, now we all of a sudden have, but that's just a silly example. We all know, like, internally how to write. That's how we hire people, because you can see that even with AI, if people don't know how to write, they're not intelligent communicators, they're not going to be able to see that somebody didn't do it
Yes.
correctly. You can't identify it. So I think AI is a wonderful tool. It's here to stay. We should learn how to use it, but we should be the drivers and not being driven by it.
And we should
So
integrate it. Yes, integrate it with intentionally into your processes. And I thoroughly agree. I'm not surprised with your
absolutely.
answer. And it brings, we have processes we do here that are on which we rely on AI, and we know exactly what we want AI to do and why. And frankly, I probably saves me. It brings two people's worth of efficiency. Not that those people that it's costing people jobs. We're able to use humans to do the things that humans are best able to do.
Yeah, it's
As
like
we've always
the same for us. I mean, we for instance, as an example, like producing our podcast. So my marketing director, from doing, like, let's say it took from 10 hours of doing it manually or like with other tools, to we can do it now. We produce podcasts very fast. But
yes,
what happens is then the person, we have a person in charge of producing the podcast, and he goes, you know what, I what else can you give me to do? And he's a very good writer, is a very good marketer. I was able to just, I got the gist, I mean, basically the hang of it, and it's just like I decreased the amount of hours and now I have more hours. I was like, great, now we can promote more. So it's just like this abundance of opportunities that are opening up, and we need to seize them and use them.
yes, that's exactly. I thoroughly agree. I thoroughly agree. If you anyone who's been through read my book or been through our software knows that it's, we have a process for this, and we can document the other, and we have policies. Everything you're touching on is comes to life inside our system. And I would encourage anyone who has a question about how to do what you do, because you bring a very specific set of skills, and a tremendous life experience to these conversations. I would encourage them to get hold of you.
Thank you. Yep.
And yeah, in fact, um, Addie, how would people get hold of you? I might as well get it here on the mic.
Sure. So, on LinkedIn, Adi Klevit, very easy to find me. So it's ADIKLEVIT. You can also call us or text at 503-662-2911. The website is bizsuccesscg.com. You can email me, Adi at bizsuccesscg.com. You can download our ebook at successreplicated.com.
Nice.
So that's easy to
Yep.
find. You can listen to my podcast at System Simplified, and I'm going to have a great episode with George pretty soon. So by the
That'd be
time you
fun.
listen to this one, this episode is going to be live. And so there's definitely a lot of ways to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got to say, I really, I mean, they would give another plug for 40 Strategy for Carl J. Cox. They put on a great event. The speakers were fantastic. You and I, I'm glad you and I met. And, there's a lot of fun to be had. This is all about making businesses easier to run, making business serve. It's something I've been hitting on recently a lot. How do you make a business serve your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than being a cage for your life. And
And
the
there again
answer,
with the word fun, it has to be fun. And that's what it was, that conference, Carl and his team were amazing in making it fun. They just put it,
yes,
it was a beautiful resort, great food, but the speakers and the attendees,
and the
it was
attendees,
just that whole experience was fun. And you go, yeah, business can be fun. I mean, why not? I mean, if we spend the majority of our lives working, we might as well make it fun.
100%, 100%. We have to do this anyhow. We might as well have fun doing it. That's funny. That's my mantra. So, well, outstanding. Addie, thank you so much for coming on today. I really enjoyed the conversation. I'm a rabid fan, and I'm sure we're going to do this again. I'd love to be on your podcast, but you and I will do this again, um, down the road.
Absolutely. There's a lot to
Awesome.
talk about. Thank you,
Yeah,
George.
100%. Thank you very much.